Get out of there. Go and get. Good morning. Well, I'm pretty sure I said something about this car hopefully being on the road by the first track day in March. Well, we got the dates. I think it's the 25th of March. It's definitely not going to happen. Partly due to time, mainly due to money. So unless I've got a distant relative that somehow knows about me and is going to leave me a shit ton of cash, this thing is not going to be done in time for that track day. So what we're going to do is just keep on chipping away at it, and as money becomes available, we'll keep going. I've got enough parts now to sort of keep me going for a bit, but I need to save up and organise a trailer and also the roll cage and exhaust. But until then, we'll just keep chipping away until money becomes available. Alrighty, time to pull all this air conditioning stuff off because we don't need it.
I want you to know that I ain't lonely. A thing to me.
And it's out. Hoping this bearing's as shagged as it sounds. It's filthy in there. I'll pull this clutch off and see what it looks like. Get going. Alright, getting this sucker cleaned up with petrol. Pull the old clutch out. Looks pretty shagged. The bearing is super shagged. New shiny one. And outside, we're cleaning up the gearbox. Giving this guy a good clean up with some degreaser, and then we're going to pressure wash all the crap off. Oh dear God, do not stand too close when pressure washing. Ugh, yuck. Bell housing all over me. Bell housing juice. Get out of there. Go and get. Oh, would you look at that. How clean is that sucker? Love some pressure washer action. Makes the gearbox good to go. So I had a few people ask me if I was going to put a racing clutch in this thing. Basically the answer is no, I don't need to. It's a whopping 100 horsepower, so a standard heavy duty clutch will do the trick. And it also made me realise a lot of people don't understand the difference between clutches, so I thought I'd do a bit of clutch 101. So, here's your flywheel. This is what keeps the engine turning, gives it momentum to get past its strokes. Then you've got the friction plate. So this is a friction material, kind of like brake pad sort of stuff. And that goes in there, so that grips onto the flywheel and onto this side. So this is the pressure plate. So it grips on there. So basically, friction plates get sandwiched between the flywheel and the pressure plate like that. And this guy, they're the springs, and that's what gives you the clamping force when you release your clutch. And then you've got a bearing on there that releases the clutch when you want to change gears, etc, etc. So this is a standard style heavy duty clutch. So basically the difference between this and the standard guy over here, if you can see on the camera, these spring blades are solid all the way through. This is quite a mellow one, you can't really see it, but the spring blades actually taper in, so there's less force. The spring's not quite as heavy, so when Grandma's driving her XL to the shops, she doesn't have to have legs the size of Ian Thorpe to be able to push the clutch in. Whereas these ones, still pretty light, but it gives you that extra clamping force. So if you are really pushing it, you let the clutch out, it's going to clamp that clutch down better. The difference between a racing clutch and a standard clutch is, as this is a standard clutch, it's just one big disc of friction material. A lot of racing clutches use what's called a button clutch. So the clutch will actually be, say like on my old one was 5 different pads, so have 5 sections of grip with nothing in between. They're the buttons. And the reason for that is because you've got the same amount of clamping force, but there's only those contact patches. The clamping force on those patches is higher and not spread out across the whole clutch. Therefore, you get that sort of instantaneous grab and a lot more strength. But for day-to-day driving, it's really jerky and not quite as nice to drive in a standard car, but for racing it's good. As we said though, as this is 100 horsepower, we don't need anything crazy like a button clutch. Then from button clutches you can get different materials, you can go less buttons. I think they do a 3-button clutch. I haven't really looked at the clutch websites in a while, and they also do multi-plate friction clutches. So instead of just having one friction plate, you have a friction plate, a grip plate, and you have maybe 3 of them, and so you've got 3 times the amount of grip and clamping force, and they're for sort of super high-end cars like Ferraris and junk like that, things we cannot afford. So that's pretty much the difference between a standard clutch and a racing clutch. Alright, now we've got the engine clean, we should probably stick this guy in there. And that's it, we're done for today. Everything, all the starter motor and everything's back on. The engine is pretty much ready to go back in the car. I've given it the best cleanup I can. I'm gonna get a new heat shield because that one's all messed up and cracked. So I'm gonna jump online and try and find a new one of them. But all the air cons off. We filed down the thread for the oil pressure sender, and that now fits in there pretty well because it was just hanging on, which I was not happy about because we do not want to spew oil on a racetrack. That would suck. So that's in there nice and tight now, so we can run our oil pressure gauge in the cabin. And yeah, gearbox in, got the clutch all in there, should be hunky-dory. Once the engine goes back in, then we'll drain all the fluids, new filters, new fluids, all that, and see how she runs. And yeah, on to the next stuff. Thanks for watching, if you're still watching. I don't know why you would be, but hopefully there's something somewhat entertaining about this. And one day we will be driving this car around a track, and then you can say, oh, I saw the videos when he was building it. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see you next time.